right, we're going to get this started. We're going to start off by saying this is a piece of paper. Can everybody see it? There's a number written on it. Can you see it? I hope not. I'm going to explain what's for. Now, thanks to the folks at LaserApp, they gave each of us presenters 10 of these chips, these poker chips, for tonight's cruise. And they allowed us as presenters to give them out to the audience for those that participate. They actually didn't tell me any rules, but that's what I figured that they were for. But thanks to them, I no longer have to worry about opening this session with a few borderline inappropriate jokes, getting a phone call from compliance tomorrow, being sent to mandatory media training. Mandatory training is the one you don't want to go to. And I don't have to worry about any of that. Whew! So thanks, fellas. Now, in the spirit of tonight's cruise, though, in conjunction with these chips, we're going to see how many times in this presentation I can go ahead and get some casino references in my presentation without it being overly tacky. But we start off by first saying that for these chips, what we're going to do with them, I want them to go all to one person. I don't want to divide them out into 10 different chances. I want this to greatly increase somebody's chance to win. It's like our strategy with technology with TD Ameritrade. We're committed to a true straight-through process. We're committed to go all in. Yeah, that's a little tacky, I know. But we are committed to having a single set of data, pass that, initiate that from your master of records, move that into form population, have an option to get electronic signature, send it to our back office, process it, create the account, send the operational alert back into your master of records, and populate that demographics. And what we're here to show today is how we made a huge leap in that effort, both in technology suite as well as adoption chances by upgrading, I would say, from LaserApp Enterprise up to LaserApp Anywhere. And in order to win these chips at the end in Q&A, during the Q&A section, anybody can ask a question. And when you ask a question, you can also pick a number from 1 to 9. That's what the number that I got right here is for. You pick the right number, you win 10 chips, which could be your iPad. In the event that nobody picks the right number, the last person who asks a question will win. If nobody asks a single question, you're all out of here by the time at the end, well, then I got bigger problems to worry about with my presentation skills than I have to worry about giving 10 chips away. So here we go. Let's get started. Obligatory disclosure. Let's go. 1, 2. We're good. All right. I'm going to presume that most of you have a general awareness, general understanding of who TD Ameritrade is and what we do. What's relevant for today's presentation, as I talked about earlier during the vendor lineup, is we are the first custodian to go live in production with our LaserApp Anywhere deployment, integrated together with Veil, integrated together with different CRMs out there, integrated together with a lot of our back office tools. Some of these integrations we'll show today, some we won't. But needless to say, we have that goal that we're striving for true account opening process. In May at the DocuSign conference, I did a session talking about a prototype of this solution. We showed the demo environment back then. And the most common questions I got asked was, what's your secret? How did you go ahead and build this thing all together and made it actually work? The background story, 2 years ago, we first presented our electronic signature integration at the DocuSign conference, last year. And this year, we saw several broker-dealers presenting their solution that looked exactly like ours. They gave credit for it. One particular broker-dealer, our neighbors here in San Diego, actually said, well, last year we saw a TD Ameritrade session, and it made a lot of sense. So we went ahead and did the same thing. That's fine. That's fine. At least they give proper credit where it's due. But after a year later, and we showed all the different integrations, they said, what's the secret? And the secret is obviously there's a lot of different ingredients in this whole recipe of success we have. But the secret sauce for the TDA recipe is what we call Veil Open Access. Veil Open Access refers to this concept that we not only have open architecture, but we actually let data flow back and forth between all the possible technology systems that our advisors would use with our back office. And you can think of our back office as no different than just another data source, another midpoint, another endpoint, and what have you. Well, this is the only part where we're actually going to be talking about how awesome we think we are. And we're going to go ahead and say that we think we must be doing something right if folks like Joel Bruckenstein will talk about that last year, TD Ameritrade had the most very satisfied advisors that year. And so we think that's because of our commitment to our technology, and we think we're going to win that again this year because of what we've done with Laser App Anywhere. Let's take a look at the new account opening flow. You have the account opening today at the top of these 6 different boxes. You don't actually have to read the fine print. They basically refer to manual steps that folks have to go through to open an account. You also have what I would like to call basic integration. So if you automate bits and pieces, if you integrate bits and pieces of the step together, you can shrink the steps. That's what we're trying to go for here. You can go from, say, 6 steps to 4 steps. I'm just pulling numbers out. But hypothetically, you can achieve some of that savings. Now, I like to think of, I think earlier that we talked about, heard someone in one of the sessions talk about single sign-on is not integration. Well, it is and is not. It certainly is an integration, but it's the tip of the iceberg. I look at a single sign-on as just, it's quality of life improvement. It helps you save some time. I look at workflow as a means to streamline your processes and get your act together. What I truly believe saves time, it's a valuable differentiator, is when you automate. And that's what we strive to do in our solution. We'll show you in the demonstration how we use some built-in tools and how we leverage Vail Open Access. Now, speaking of Vail Open Access, we have 50 different partners in our solution providers in our Vail Open Access network today. For those of you that know Marcel Tsai, my counterpart in product management that handles the API agreement, I called him earlier and I said, hey, listen, Marcel, I'm doing this presentation at Laser App Conference and they're doing this gambling cruise tonight. And I'm trying to fit some casino references in there. So can you drop 29 of these solution providers so I can make some reference about 21? And I can't really repeat what he said to me, but all I can say is we still have 50 providers right now. All of them are here. So here we go. And then what I'm going to show you is let's first take a look at a set of Vail Open Access providers, which is the electronic signature vendors. Let's examine why do we start at the end. The electronic signature is actually, in my opinion, the last step of the first half, the last step of the front-end advisor experience. We started with there 2.5 years ago because what electronic signature does for you, and this is not meant to be a session on electronic signatures, but it all comes together. You save time. You have a better NIGO, not in good order ratio. You virtually eliminate it. We show in our demonstrations to our advisors that when you apply smart form dynamics, whether it's through Laser App, whether it's through e-signature providers, you literally have to grossly misspell something on purpose to still have a form that's not in good order. You have a ton of operating and logistics savings. DocuSign likes to say FedEx is a customer. I think that's very impressive. I would think that they're the enemies. But if even FedEx is signing up to be a DocuSign customer, I think that tells you something about where the world views electronic signature as it relates to saving operating and logistic expenses. You can have a whole lot better client service. I was a rep for a broker-dealer coming out right out of college on my first job. And paperwork was the bane of my existence. I can't tell you how many times I forgot a form. Can't tell you how many times I forgot a signature. I can't tell you how many times I sent a form to a client and they've lost it. And all of that is resolved when you start transmitting documents electronically. You start filling them out electronically. You just save a whole lot of time there. And then the meat of it and where the value is when you can start integrating together with other systems. So we talked about how TD Ameritrade always had our account management platform integrated together with electronic signature. How it works is pretty simple. We launch from Vail. We select the form that you want. We pre-populate it. We have both the Laser App option as well as we have the, let's call it the non-Laser App option. And that's because back when we had Laser App Enterprise, we don't have everybody that was able to use it. Mac users, guys that just didn't want to install software, a lot of reasons. But so we gave them a way to populate on Vail. We allow the advisor to review the documents. The client receives the email, goes through a secure ID verification so that I can actually say, I am me. I am signing this. Client fills out anything that's missing so that because the required fields logic does not allow something to be sent until everything's fully complete. And then with the document the whole time, the envelope is being tracked through the console so that we know every status, every stage. We know exactly when the client received it. We know exactly when the client opened it. And we know when the client opened it but did not sign it. And we can have that use these statuses exposed through our API so that folks, our CRM partners out there, are able to then create tasks and activities generated in their respective systems to say, hey, please follow up on this call. These guys have received but have not signed. And ultimately, the signed copy is sent directly to our back office, fed into our imaging. We process that account and then tie it back into our alert system with a copy of the document sent back to the advisor and the client. So that's what we've always had. And I'm actually not going to go through a demonstration of that because what we're going to talk about is how it's enhanced now by the Laser App Anywhere offering. So we've always used to have all these powerful capabilities. And instead of taking a look at it, because we're a little short on time, we're just going to jump to the question about what about data from your CRM? What about data from things that does not originate from Vail? What about guys that don't use Laser App Enterprise? Well, our solution traditionally has been just use Laser App Enterprise to solve the middleware, to be that integrative middleware so you can pull data from your CRM, from your document management, anything Laser App is integrated with. And we populate that form, we send it through our console. That's the integration I talked about earlier where at the beginning of this year, we launched that where you can launch Laser App Anywhere, launch Laser App Enterprise and still send it to the Vail DocuSign console. It still goes in with all the tracking system and all the capabilities we have. And we considered it pretty easy to implement. Here are the steps. If you've already had Laser App Enterprise, what you would have to do to make it integrate with TDA's back office. You download a plugin from Vail. It's actually on the Laser App Forms Wizard page. As you click it, you download it. After that, you go through what we call in non-tech speak as double-click. You double-click the plugin. Once you double-click, you are done. So from a technology product management perspective, I thought I did my share in making it pretty easy for our advisors to go ahead and integrate together Laser App Enterprise together with our back office. But you know what? Earlier today when Joel Bruckenstein talked about how adoption was still nowhere near where it should be, a lot of advisors are still not using this, he is right. Our data supports that. I actually lied earlier when I said that the most common question I got at the DocuSign conference was the secret sauce. That was the second most common question. The most common question I got was what's our adoption? And while we're not actually going to talk about the adoption, I can tell you that it's not where it should be. It's not where we want it to be. And part of that's because I think there should be effectively 100% adoption, neglecting the kind of forms that aren't allowed to be signed electronic signature. Everything else should be signed electronically. Why not? Why not? Everybody are in this room attending this conference because they believe in the vision of a paperless office and electronic workflow and document signing. So I think we all agree on the same thing. But why is it that we've made it so easy for them? You literally just go to Vail and click. We have a script where you download, automatically generates you a Laser App license key with the install instructions to install, and they still don't do it. It's because it just wasn't easy enough. Having to go through and download software and install it is just a deal breaker to some folks. Well, thankfully, with Laser App Anywhere, we made it even easier. Because now it's centralized, provisioned, and administered. We just give an activation email to an advisor, and they create a username and password, and that's that. We allow them to now have centralized configurations, leveraging the different capabilities that Anywhere has. So rather than big shops, a lot of times, multiple advisors, they want to have their own form groups, and we understand who doesn't like bundles and be able to select the same form groups over and over, but they have to go and make that configuration on each installation. A lot of times they have to uninstall and install, and there goes all that configuration. So now with centralized form groups being pushed down to a firm level, all of that is solved. We also allow the flexibility, and we'll show that in our demonstration, having customized personal form groups. If I was a representative, if I was an advisor, I have my bread and butter. Maybe I target a particular segment. I focus on 529 plans, 403B, doesn't matter what it is. I'm able to create those form groups that are unique to just me and be able to recall them at a moment's notice. We're able to embed integrations in there. Today, if you download Laser App Enterprise from TDA and you said, I want to integrate it with Redtail, I want to integrate it with Salesforce, Juncture, eBix, I want to integrate it with Laserfish document management. It's all possible, but someone has to go and turn it on for you. Someone has to go in there and just do the entitlement and the enablement. With Laser App Anywhere, we are able to embed most of the integrations out there straight out of there in the box, so that all you have to do is put in your account credentials. And we'll show as an example the integration with DocuSign and the integration with the different CRMs. And no offense to any of the Laser App guys out there, but we called it a modernized experience of Laser App. It is truly slick. It is not, Laser App, the first current desktop version, a little form by function type into software speak, but Laser App Anywhere really brings it up, I think, to the 21st century. And I know when we showed our advisors, they were very impressed with the usability and the look and feel of it. So now this is the portion where I would like to switch over to the product demonstration and show from end to end. Again, I said this was better against my better judgment, but I'm going to do it anyway. This was, believe it or not, part of the terms and conditions that we agreed to when signing up to be the first custodian to release this. Of course, all of our advisors can log on to laserapp.net and access anywhere there, and they could, and there's a fair portion that can and will. But for the majority of folks, they will want to go ahead and log on from their CRM. So as an example, maybe I'm an advisor that operate from Redtail. Let's call it Redtail. I thought I had it open. I don't. Or maybe they can go from Salesforce, and that I do have open. So regardless of the different customer relationship management system they're starting from, the reality is they will go over to the contacts. And when they go to the contacts and they come up to a particular contact, let's actually make sure I have internet connection here. All right, let's actually go. I like Redtail, so I'm going to start with Redtail. But the concept is the same. I don't want to remember a password to a TDA only on a company, on a conference laptop, but that will, just like I didn't want to have my personal email information stored, but I had to. I'll explain that in a second. But in a customer relationship management system, you would go ahead and find the contact you're looking for. Sam's not here with us today, but my colleagues in TD can let him know that he had the honor of being our test case. And we go ahead and select the client. Choose Send to Laser App, no different than how you would send to Laser App Enterprise in the first place, except you just use Redtail's configuration. And you can see now that you go through the single sign-on and you're into the system, the production environment of Laser App Anywhere. We talked about earlier where you can go ahead and choose the pre-default form groups that we push into you. And you can see that for the different options, if you mouse over, I don't know if you can see on the screen, but if you mouse over, you can see the different forms that belong to this particular set of a bundle. You can also, of course, just as I said, have your own bread and butter. You can have Andy's bundles. Here, you can choose particular form bundles that you yourself have, or you can do the very traditional search for forms, which is actually what we'll do here. So say you select an account application. I don't want to open up a bundle of forms. I want this to be as fast as possible. But you can see all the data is already pre-populated from the CRM system for Sam King and all the associated information. You can stop right here right now if you don't want to apply electronic signature. You can use Laser App for Laser App. You can print it out. You can save it as a PDF. I don't have to be here to tell you the functionalities of Laser App other than saying you obviously can do it. But at the same time, without the advisor having to do anything, we already have the send to the TDA back office button embedded into each one of our forms used through Laser App, and they can simply push that button after they choose who they actually wanted to send to the client. So in this case, I'm going to send it to myself. I normally send it to my work email, but I cannot get on my VPN network here on a non-company issued laptop. So I'm going to send it to take a big risk here and send it to my personal email. And you all promise me that you won't take a look at anything else on my personal email other than the email from DocuSign. All right? So you can see that once I click the post to TDI button, I can go ahead and put in just the sample email subject and body. Now this in a non-admin account, this is pre-populated with the standard TDA welcome language, etc. Here, I didn't in our test account for my own, I don't put much here. So I see Donald right here. Why don't I just put Donald's name so I can prove it? I actually did not talk to Donald about this ahead of time, so it's not like I'm faking an email that has Donald's name there In fact, Mark, why don't you give me a word that, something I put in the body so I can prove this is real. All right, thanks, Mark. Go ahead. Here we go. So you can see that I go ahead and choose OK. So remember, as the advisor, so far all I did was launch from launch from CRM, push a button, and then go ahead and choose who I'm sending it to. And now DocuSign has sent the envelope. And this is where, if you take your eyes off the screen for a minute, I am going to go and look at my personal email, and don't look at anything else right now. You know, I probably should have waited until this thing showed up. Don't look. All right, so as soon as this thing loads, so while my email is slowly loading up the email, I'm going to ask folks to take a guess. The integrations that we showed you right now, how other than switching the connection from Laser App Enterprise to Laser App Anywhere, how much new development did we do? How much new integration projects did we kick off? How much effort did we do? I'm going to give you folks a hint. It's between 0 and 00. All right, that's my last attempt to put in a casino reference into this presentation. But the reality is, being able to Laser App Anywhere allowed us to leverage all of our pre-existing integrations that us and our vendor partners in Open Access has done, so we didn't have to do any work other than our integration into our own back office. And again, that's simply just changing, pointing to where it's at to be able to go into Laser App Anywhere. Well, here. So let's use an email here that I did during the test, because I don't know why the actual one wasn't sent over here. That's a good one. It's because I'm using Internet Explorer. That's certainly, for folks that wasn't here during the lunch hour, we experienced some technical difficulties with apparently Windows 8, IE10, and one of the latest script blockers together makes Laser App Anywhere have some challenges. So right now, what we're going to just go ahead and move on, but what happens is you get an email from the Laser App system, and you go through and you go complete your signing ceremony as you would, and that then invokes the DocuSign component part of the integration to TDA's back office. You sign, and then it goes back to TDA's back office, and then you complete that cycle. Same thing, we're not going to go through the whole steps with other CRMs, but as a representative example, you can see with something like a Salesforce with client data, you can go ahead and choose Veil Laser App Anywhere integration. And these were done for us by the nice folks from AppCrown. They built and enhanced our Salesforce integration into Laser App Anywhere. And what it'll do is, again, this also single sign-on into the Laser App Anywhere environment. I'm not trying to give excuses, but I think most of the problem, the challenge that we have here has to do more of an internet connection issue than we have to do with the actual technology. If I can't access Gmail, if I can't access Laser App Anywhere, probably is more to do with this connection that I have. But now you see it finally took its sweet time and went through, and that I'm back in the system. This time I was with the account Sam Smith. And if you see it, if I go ahead and select the forms again, same process I did before, and I open the form, you can see that now Sam Smith's information is being populated by Laser App Anywhere, and the same post to TDAI button is here for everything. So regardless of what integration point you choose to start with, whether it's your document management, whether it's your customer relationship management, whether it is just logging on to laserapp.net, you're able to go ahead and complete that straight through process back to our back office. Now, in the full demonstration that we do, what I normally do is I VPN it in, I actually go to the back office email, I show you the imaging, how inside of our FileNet system we start having this being processed, and then we show and actually kick out that process so you can see the operational alert coming back. We're not going to do that today. So if I can flip back to my presentation, please. So let's talk a little bit about the cost-benefit analysis of the solution that we put together. Before I do that, I'd like to tell a little story. So like most custodians and broker-dealers. We have our operations panel. We have our advisor panel. These are folks, power users in our ecosystem, and they do a lot of things, and they offer a lot of feedback. They're able to talk. They're very sophisticated users. And I think those of you with experience with these panels know they are not shy about critiquing upcoming technology initiatives that has to do with their areas of expertise. I've done numerous technology presentations, whether they're ideas or whether they're enhancement requests to this group. And while it's always warmly received, I'm always bombed on by the different questions that they throw at me. No exception until 3 months ago when we presented the prototype solution to the operations panel. After the presentation, I only had one question. It was, when is this available? And that created a discussion among our advisors being represented by no matter what stage our advisor was at in the life cycle of their own straight-through process deployment. Some of them have extremely sophisticated, such as Jim Worth and having their whole account opening process already fully embedded. Some had nothing. No matter what part of the life cycle they were at, they all felt that they could immediately benefit from having something like this available to all of our advisors. But in case they weren't convinced, we gave a quick cost-benefit analysis that this is not the exact words that we termed this. We actually have a case study that we're working on that talks about the quantitative benefits, things like taking the time from weeks to days, and how much time does that cost, how much time does that save, what is the growth rate of folks compared to their same asset size class for folks using this whole straight-through process. That's coming out. We're actually going to target it for release actually, let's not talk about the release date, but we actually have that currently in flight. For now, we put together something very simple. The benefit of using a laser app anywhere process and integrate together with new account opening is pretty simple. You save time. Time's money. Advisors like saving time. You have practically 100% reduction in not in good order forms. While saving money from not having NIGOs is more money. You have less logistics expense, FedEx, so you save even more money. You have better client service, which is a central tenet and philosophy of the TDA way of working with our advisors. So that's invaluable. We can't measure that. Let's just call it maybe money times 10. Then the cost to our advisors when we deploy this, well, Veil, the cost is zero. There is no cost to Veil. You get that for working with custodying assets at TD Ameritrade. We also pick up the cost for your electronic signature. So in this case, DocuSign. The cost is zero to the advisor. We pick up the cost for Laser App. So the cost for our advisors using Laser App is also zero. And we really hope that our advisors already have a CRM or some kind of master of records in order to keep track of their client relationships and discovery. So by my math, you add a bunch of things that have value, and you compare that and contrast that with something that has no cost, and it really should be a no-brainer for our advisors to implement. This is why we went ahead and jumped on and signed that contract with Laser App and rolled this out, because we expect every single one of our advisors to be able to benefit from this and should adopt this. We recently had, even before we sent out the press release on yesterday, we already had our articles with our media partners ready, talking about the different integrations that we have and how it saves precious time and the benefits that it has. So we definitely intend to, I make it very clear. I know, actually, I see some of you in the room that I know I spoke to before, or if you represent your broker-dealers. Putting my TD hat aside for a moment, I am a champion of this product. I believe everybody should be using it. I've done numerous references for Laser App talking about the benefits of using this for informed population, and I'm here to also answer any questions that you might have for on the solution deployment that we have. I feel that we are one of the few with real hands-on experience and field experience in implementing this, and I certainly am not and willing to share whatever and answer whatever questions that you might have. Yes, ma'am. So I think the question was, talk more about the specific Laser App component of it. I couldn't hear it at all, sorry. Mm-hmm. Sure. So the question was, I think the question asked, is there a currently straight-through process for folks using just Laser App? They don't want to use the e-signature component. So, well, first, they still have to print it out and obtain the signature. And after that, we have different mechanisms where they can transfer it over to us, but it's not straight through in the sense that all the data are still dynamic and all the field can be taken advantage of. That's just, you can say that we have ways to streamline the account intake process. But if you don't want to get an electronic signature, then you have to get a wet signature, and therefore you have to use LaserApp to print the format. In this case, you were just using it as form population tool. Would you like to guess at a number? No, I meant for the poker chips. No, that's the winner. Oh, no. Oh, man, I'm not making this up. I mean, congratulations. It is actually a 2. You are the winner. I'm happy to answer more questions, but there are no poker chips left. I thought it would last longer. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So I think the question is asking about the order of the workflows, that currently how it behaves today, which it can go from originate in CRM, send a LaserApp, and from LaserApp go to DocuSign and then to TD, and whether that was a conscious decision for that order of workflow. So how do I explain this? Each layer, each component actually has its own workflow system. So for example, LaserApp to DocuSign just transmits the information, but at DocuSign, it kicks off DocuSign API, where in that case, that is a conscious decision that we wrote to where advisors first reviews it, and then the client gets it and back to our back office. But the advisors can change that. They can add a supervisory step in between. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we determine from technology to technology piece that specific order. But within the technology piece, such as where the documents go within the DocuSign ceremony, that we have a default, but the advisors can customize it to how their firm operates. I'm sorry, what? Is that specific by document type? No, it's a firm-wide setting. Yes, sir.
Are you posting data back to CRM platforms that this transaction took place?
Yes, so the question is, are we posting data back to CRMs about the transactions? And first of all, there's a change log. If you use the DocuSign component, if you print it out and things get changed, I mean, we don't work magic here, right? So that's not going to happen. So anytime the information is still dynamic, when there's a change log that comes back from DocuSign that says, field 36 was changed from this value to that value. And our advisors who want to put in the work can write against the DocuSign API to their CRM and parse that change. Now, I'll tell you right now, some advisors consciously choose, I don't want to do that because I don't want my client to fill out a form and change the address, and it could be their summertime vacation home, and they just put it there right there, and I don't want that to modify. Some of our advisors even trigger it as a choice. The new information coming, do I want to modify it? And that's just on the DocuSign piece of it. And then after it comes to our back office, we post that, we open up a new account, and we load every single day the demographics information to the CRM. So in that case, even if say you didn't originate from CRM, say you, for whatever reason, you ran a workshop and you had 20 people sign up and you gave them access to LaserApp Anywhere right there and then. They just used it as a form population software. Well, when the account gets open at TDA, and if you use a CRM that's integrated with TDA, Redtail, Salesforce, Juncture, eBix, anything else that's modern, you will go ahead and the account information will get created and sent over. And that way, that's another way the information gets transmitted back. We have. We showed a prototype at the Laserfish conference earlier this year of this whole step that we talked about. Every step of the way, a copy of the document was sent over to your document repository in Laserfish, and then it applied each stage. Not only did it show the audit trail, but also applies the versioning, so to document control. That is the next phase that we are currently working on, is adding the document management component to it for the audit trail and compliance purposes. And that's something that we hope to be able to have, not soon, but will. And so certainly it's been actively considered. We think with that, it will truly complete the cycle. Any other questions? I see that once the poker chips are gone, there's no incentives left to ask questions. I mean, I understand. I would do the same thing too. Well, thank you. Thank you for attending our session. I will be on the dinner cruise even though I have no extra chips left. But any questions that you might have, feel free to seek me out. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. Thank you.